Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsy69. Welcome back to the channel. Now 9.1, the open test is available, and of course, as Wargaming have stated, not even what it was last update, there is going to be some big balance changes. They want to change pretty much all tier 10 tanks. They want to rebalance them to make them all different, to play differently, etc, etc. So thanks to Aminet, who was streaming this, I managed to get all the information from her, because I couldn't stream it. Wargaming asked us to stream this. I couldn't stream it, so unfortunately I didn't get all this info, but you know, I've screenshotted everything from Aminet's stream, so thank you, Aminet, for streaming. Do go check her channel out. So we're going to have a look at pretty much all of the balance changes in this video, and let's get started because there is quite a few. So first up, we've got the Object 263. The view range will be decreased by 5 meters. Engine power will be decreased by 120 HP. Penetration value of the standard shell will be increased by 10 millimeters, and the maximum speed will be decreased. So yeah, I mean, the view range decreased, okay, fair enough. Engine power decreased, the maximum speed decreased. That's not great, to be honest, for the 263. Yeah, okay, the only thing it's really getting is the penetration at 10 millimeters. I would say that's more of a nerf than a buff, but we're not going to talk about each tank. We're only going to talk about the nerfs and the buffs of these tanks, because otherwise we'll be here forever. So the Object 268 reload time will be increased, so almost 1 second on the reload time there. Whole traverse speed will be increased by 8.34 degrees. Dispersion at 100 meters will be increased at 0.048. Aiming time will be decreased by almost by 0.1 second. Damage of the standard shell will be increased by 30 HP. So your standard shell, you'll do 30 HP more than you currently do. Next up, we have the IS-4. The engine power will be decreased by 50 HP. Dispersion on the turret traverse will be increased by 0.02. Armor thickness in the driver's cabin will be increased by 40 millimeters. The armor thickness in the lower slope of the hull side will be increased by 50 millimeters. The vehicle durability will be increased by 150 HP. The IS-7 dispersion at 100 meters will be increased by 0.009. I mean, what's the point of that? Like, no, it's no point at all. The vehicle durability will be decreased by 50 HP. Horsepower. Whole traverse speed will be increased by 4.17. Vehicle's weight will be increased by 3,800 kilos. Maximum speed will be decreased by 5 kilometers. So yeah, not too great for the IS-7 there. Object 260 maximum speed will be increased by 3 kilometers. Engine power will be increased by 70 horsepower. Vehicle durability will be decreased by 100 horsepower. Aiming time will be decreased by 0.2. Again, not too bad. The Object 140 vehicle durability will be decreased by 100 horsepower. Maximum speed will be increased by 5 kilometers. Engine power will be increased by 120 horsepower. View range will be increased by 10 meters. Concealment factor while stationary will be increased. Armor thickness in the hull, turret front and sides, and in the commander's cupolas will be decreased. That is not good there for the Object 140. If anything, all them needs to be increased, but it is what it is. Object 907 dispersion at 100 meters will be decreased. Vehicle durability will be decreased by 100 horsepower. Penetration values of the standard shell will be increased by 5 millimeters. APR shell will be replaced by AP. Reticle calibration consumable will be added. Now this reticle calibration consumable will be added to quite a few different tanks. Improved gunpowder provision will be added as well. The T100 light vehicle durability will be decreased by 50 HP. Crossing capacity coefficients will be increased by ground by 9, for water by 25. Armor thickness in the hull's upper glacis plate will be decreased by 14, and the reload time will be increased by 0.77. Now that is more of a nerf for the T100, but to be honest, it does need that nerf. T22 medium terrain crossing capacity on road, grind and water will be increased by 6, 4 and 20. APR shells will be replaced with AP, and the whole traverse will be decreased by 5.22 degrees. Now a lot of people will be quite annoyed because a lot of these are premium tanks and collectibles, but you got to remember tier 10 are not premiums, they are collectible and enriched. So Wargaming can nerf and buff any tank in tier 10 as they wish, so bear that in mind even if you have paid money for it. The T62 maximum speed will be increased by 5 kilometers an hour. Engine power will be increased by 70 horsepower. Dispersion on the turret traverse will be increased by 0.03. APR shell will be replaced with AP. Dispersion at 100 meters will be increased by 0.048. Aiming time will be increased by 0.9. Ammo rack capacity will be increased by 10 shells. So I mean, maximum speed is getting more quicker. I don't know if the T62, like, yeah, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts about the T62 and all the other changes in this this list. So the T95 E6, the maximum speed will be increased by 8 kilometers. The armor thickness on the turret cheeks will be decreased by 25 millimeters. Reload time will be decreased by almost 1 second. So actually not a bad buff there for the E6. The E3 reload time will be increased by 1.5 seconds. That's a second and a half for each shell. That's a big nerf, to be honest, but the whole traverse speed will be increased by 3.13. Dispersion at 100 meters will be increased. Damage of the standard shell will be increased by 40 hit points, so you're doing 40 damage more than you currently are doing. Penetrations of the standard shell will be decreased, so a bit of a buff and a bit of a nerf there for the E3. The E4, the turret traverse speed will be decreased by 6.26 degrees. Reload time will be decreased by half a second. Vehicle durability will be decreased by 50 HP. Dispersion at 100 meters will be decreased. Dispersion on a turret traverse will be increased, and the whole traverse speed will be increased as well. The M6 the vehicle durability will be decreased by 150. Engine power will be decreased by 25 horsepower. Shell reload boost consumable will be added. I mean, that is wow. Shell reload boost, that is crazy. The M6 is already good enough. The shell reload boost, of those that don't know, is the FE4W5 that has this. Makes it insane, makes that reload insane, and that's just going to get the damage out even quicker. So I'm not quite sure it needed this shell reload boost, but it's got it. And on top of that, it's got the reticle calibration consumable and the improved gunpowder provision as well. The armor thickness in the covers of the front wheel drives will be decreased by 150 millimeters. I think that's a good buff that is not needed for the M6 The Concept 1B dispersion on the turret traverse will be decreased by 0.02. Thickness of the hole's upper glacis plate will be decreased by 15 millimeters. Dispersion at 100 meters will be decreased. Reload time will be decreased by 0.29 seconds. Turret traverse speed will be decreased by 4 degrees. Okay, next up we have the E5. The maximum speed will be increased. I mean, the E5, after it got nerfed, it kind of sucks now. It's not the worst tank, but it's not as it used to be. At least it's getting more speed. The improved engine power boost consumable will be removed. Okay, that's not good. I like the engine boost for this tank, to be honest, but it's getting more speed, and that boost consumable will be removed. Turret traverse speed will be increased. Thickness of the hole's lower glacis plate will be decreased by 14 millimeters. Dispersion at 100 meters will be decreased. Aiming time will be decreased, which is not bad actually, at 0.6 seconds, and the vehicle's weight will be increased by almost 3,000 kilos. The T57, big changes here, or a lot of changes here for the T57. The vehicle durability will be increased by 50 horsepower. The reload time of the full magazine will be decreased by almost a second. Turret traverse speed will be decreased by 13.56. The shell reload boost consumable will be added. Again, this consumable, I think, is a really good consumable and is a must-have for these auto loaders. Improved gunpowder provision will be added as well. The armor thickness in the whole front will be decreased by 51 millimeters, so it's not going to have much whole armor on the front of this, but the armor thickness on the lower glacis plate will be decreased by 15, and the armor thickness will be increased on the turret's low front by 51. So it loses it on the hull and it gets it on the turret. Again, it makes it kind of more of a hold down tank. In the turret's lower side, 51 millimeters in the turret's lower side by 30 millimeters in the front of the osculating part by 7 millimeters. Dispersion at 100 meters will be increased by 0.019. The Sheridan, the crossing capacity coefficient will be increased for ground 9, for water 25. The vehicle durability will be decreased by 100 horsepower. The view range will be increased by 20 meters, and the reload time will be decreased by almost a second. The M48 pattern, the engine power will be increased by 70. The APCR shell will be replaced by AP, and the M60, again, pretty much the same as a pattern, but the maximum speed will be increased by 2. Engine power will be increased by 80. So again, a bit more than the pattern there, and again, the same as the pattern, the APCR shell will be replaced by the AP. The STB1, the gun depression angle will be increased by 1 degree, so it's getting an extra 1 degree of gun depression. The APCR shell will be replaced by AP. Dispersion at 100 meters will be increased by 0.019. So not bad there for the STB1. The HORI, the whole traverse speed will be increased, and the maximum speed will be decreased by 5 kilometers. The Grille, the maximum speed will be decreased by 3 kilometers per hour. It doesn't need a decrease. Leave it. Leave the Grille. The whole traverse speed will be increased by 4.17. The penetration value of the standard shell will be increased by 21 millimeters. The damage will be decreased for standard shell by 40 HP, and for HE shell by 60. I mean, that's more of a nerf. In my opinion, that's more of a nerf to the Grille than a buff. I mean, it needs a buff. Give it a buff. Make it better. Don't nerf the tank. The Jaeger, the Panzer E100, the vehicle durability will be increased by 150 horsepower. Dispersion at 100 meters will be increased by 0.028. Aiming time will be decreased by 1 second. View range will be decreased by 5 meters. Concealment factor while stationary will be decreased. Dispersion on whole traverse will be decreased by 0.04, and the armor thickness in the cheeks of the cabin front will be increased by 20 millimeters. Not bad there for the Jaeger, to be honest. The VK72, the maximum speed will be increased by 2. Not going to be too much, but it is a buff there. And the dispersion on the turret traverse will be increased by 0.02. VK90 dispersion at 100 meters will be decreased by 0.01. Aiming time will be increased by 0.4 seconds. The penetration values of the standard shell will be increased by 4 millimeters. I mean, is there any point? 4 millimeters is nothing really. And the armor thickness of the turret cheeks will be increased by 10 millimeters. So you're not going to have to angle as much as you do, but 10 millimeters is not really that much, to be honest. The turret traverse speed will be decreased by 1.04 degrees, and the whole traverse speed will be decreased by 1.05 degrees. Concealment factor while stationary will be decreased. The E100, the whole traverse will be increased by 5.21. Dispersion at 100 meters will be increased by 0.019. Reload time will be increased by almost a second, and the armor thickness on the turret front will be increased by 20 millimeters. The same as that of the Jaeger, really. You won't have to angle as much to get the bounces on your turret cheeks. The Leopard one, now this is the weirdest one of the lot, in my opinion. APR shell will be replaced by the AP. The vehicle durability will be decreased by 50 horsepower. Damage of the standard shell will be increased by 10, which is nice, and reticle calibration consumable will be added. Why? The Leopard one is a laser. It already is a laser, and now it's getting the reticle calibration, which will make it even better. I mean, I'm loving it because the Leopard one is my favorite tank, but does it really need the reticle calibration? No, it doesn't, but I will take it. The E50M, the APCR shell will be replaced by AP. Dispersion at 100 meters will be increased by 0.028. Reload time will be decreased by 0.3. And so a nice little DPM buff there for the E50, and the damage of the standard shell will be decreased by 10 hit points, HPs. So yeah, it's doing less damage, but it does have better reload time. The WZ113 whole traverse speed will be increased, the maximum speed will be decreased, the armor thickness will be increased on the upper part of the hull side by 15 millimeters and the lower of the hull by 16 millimeters. The vehicle's weight will be increased by over 6,000 kilos. Dispersion at 100 meters will be increased by 0.09. The WZ111-5A, the dispersion at 100 meters will be decreased by 0.029. Maximum speed decreased, so you're going to go a bit slower there in the 5A, but you're going to get 1 second off of that reload time. The WZ113-GFT, the whole traverse speed will be increased at 3.13. Reticle calibration consumable will be removed. Armor thickness in the hull and turret side will be increased by 20 millimeters, and the armor thickness will be increased for the upper glacis plate by 40 millimeters and the low plate by 17. So not bad of a buff there for the WZ113G. The WZ121, the engine power will be increased by 90 horsepower, and the 121B, the improved engine power boost and reactive armor consumables will be added. Improved gunpowder powder provision will be added, and the APR shell will be replaced with AP. So that's not bad to get that engine boost there for the 121B at all, and the reactive armor as well. Now the Foch 155 reload of the full magazine will be decreased by 1 second. Again, doesn't really need the buff, but it's getting 1 second off the full magazine reload. The dispersion at 100 meters of the regular gun will be decreased as well. The AMX 50B, we're getting there, guys, we're getting there. The AMX 50B, the dispersion at 100 meters will be increased by 0.02. The aiming time will be increased by 0.4. Armor thickness in the front lower part of the turret will be decreased. The number of shells in the magazine will be increased by 1, so you're going to get 4 shells in your magazine instead of 3. But the damage of the standard shell will be decreased by 20, so you're getting an extra shell, but you're going to do 20 HP less. Not bad, to be honest. But the full reload time of the full magazine will be increased by almost 6 seconds. So that is, you're getting an extra shell, but you've got to wait another 6 seconds for that reload. So the AMX 50B is going to be you've got to be one to watch out for. We've got to really look into that when it comes to see what this change really does for it. The AMX M454, the dispersion at 100 meters will be increased by 0.02. The tungsten shell consumable will be added. Sandbag armor and enhanced sandbag armor provisions will be added as well. That is pretty decent with the tungsten shells. Engine power will be decreased by 50 HP. The Batchat, the crossing capacity coefficients will be increased for ground 9, for water 25. View range will be increased by 10 meters. APCR shell will be replaced by AP. Vehicle durability will be decreased by 100 HP. Shell reload boost consumable will be added, and the spool liner provisions will be added. So in my opinion, that is a good buff there for the Batchat. The shell reload boost, as we've spoken about, and also the spool liner, which means people that are going to shoot HE at you, that are going to do less damage. So that is nice there for the Batchat. The AMX 31ER, the prototype, reload time will be decreased by 0.19. The maximum speed will be decreased by 3. APCR shell will be replaced with AP. Moving on, we've got the Kranwagen. The turret traverse speed will be increased. The armor thickness in the hull's upper and lower glacis plate will be decreased by 10 millimeters. Reload times for auto loading shells will be changed by plus 1.47 for the first one, and minus 1.47 for the third one. No change there for the second one. Breaking news, yes, we get it, railway strikes, blah blah blah. Next up, the 60 TP, the vehicle durability will be decreased by 100 HP, the whole traverse speed will be increased by 4.17, and the engine power will be decreased by 40. The Batchat 65 engine power will be increased by 43 horsepower. APCR shell will be replaced by AP. Dispersion at 100 meters will be decreased. The TVP crossing capacity coefficients will be increased for road for 45 and ground 35 and water 17. Vehicle durability will be decreased by 50. APCR shell will be replaced by AP. Reload time of the full magazine will be increased by almost a second, but reload time between shells in the magazine will be decreased by 0.5 seconds, so almost half a second there between each shell. Dispersion after firing will be decreased by 1. We come into the end almost, just a few more to go. The Badger whole traverse speed will be increased. Reload time will be decreased by almost a second. Armor thickness in the whole side will be increased by 25, and the dispersion at 100 meters will be increased by 0.02. The FV4005, just like the 50B, it is getting an extra shell, so you're going to have 4 shells in the FV4005. The reload time between each shell of the magazine will also drop by 0.5 seconds. The reverse speed will be decreased. The damage of the standard shell will be decreased by 50. The reload time of the full magazines will be increased by almost 4 seconds, and the penetration value of the standard shell will be increased by 10. So bit of a buff there, in my opinion, for the FV4005. The Death Star, the concealment factor while stationary and while moving will be decreased. The reverse speed will be increased. The penetration value of the standard shell will be decreased by 10 millimeters. The dispersion at 100 meters will be decreased, and the dispersion on turret traverse will be decreased as well. The Super Conqueror, the vehicle durability will be increased by 150 horsepower. Armor thickness in the whole sides will be increased by 25, and the turret traverse speed will be decreased by 10.43. The FV215B, again, a tank that got nerfed a while ago and is not the same tank anymore, but the armor thickness in the hull's upper glacis plate will be decreased by 19. The vehicle durability will be increased by 150. The reload time will be decreased by almost a second. The penetration value of the HE shell will be increased by 50, so that will be a very nice there for the FV215B, a 50 millimeters increase in the HE shell, because it got HESH as well. That will be really, really nice. And the view range will be decreased by 5 meters. The Vickers light, the view range will be decreased by 20 meters. The crossing capacity coefficients will be increased for ground 9, water 1, I think. I'm not sure what that is. Dispersion at 100 meters will be decreased by 0.029. APCR shell will be replaced by AP. Penetration value of the standard shell will be increased by 10, and the armor thickness in the gun mantlet will be decreased by 27. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the buffs and the nerfs. What one do you find most interesting? To be honest, the Batchat seems nice, and the Leopard one seems almost very well. The Leopard one seems crazy. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What are you looking forward to most, and what are you not looking forward to the most out of all of these changes? Hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope it helps. Thank you again, Aminet, for letting me get these screenshots. I'm Meadsy, and I will catch you soon. Bye bye. With